Hey everybody, how's it going? So today I'm going to be doing a slightly different review, not really. I'm going to be reviewing this. Keen eyes will recognize this as the Skywalker saber, Anakin saber, Luke saber, reys if you want, whatever you want to call it. Now this is an old one. This was 2012. And it's very basic. You've got your switch box, little belt clip, little button thing, knob, emitter piece, and it does have a blade. Now, some of the older versions, even than this, would lock shut, and you would have to pull down the button and flick it out. This one you don't. This one you can just flick, and there you go. It does have a blue blade, yes. The belt clip is actually really convenient because of the height it's at for me personally. It feels really good to be able to just kind of grab it. So, say you're walking around, it's Halloween, you're out, you're dressed up as Luke Skywalker or Anakin, and some guy comes up and says, it's really a good height. And it's a sturdy clip. It is plastic like the rest of it. Nothing on this isn't plastic or rubber. It's all plastic. It's a good sized hilt. I mean, it does have a strong lock in it. So it's a good size. It's a good length blade. Right? What you don't know is that's a fan with lights. So that's right in the background. I have my little desk with all my stuff. And so this one's not too long. I can swing this in here without too much worry. I mean, there's still a little bit of worry, but there's not much worry. And another thing that I like about this is the way the belt clip is and the way the saber itself is designed. It works great if you're right-hand dominant, because if it was a real saber, you'd be able to use that switch box to turn it on. And if you're left-handed, because then you could still flick that with your thumb to turn it on. I'd say the hilt's about a foot long, give or take an inch or two. The blade, I'd put it at about 2.5, 3 feet. Honestly, for me, this would also work as a cane if it stayed extended. So yeah, that's about 3.5 feet. 3.5. There's no electronics whatsoever. It's not Blade Builders. The bottom is fully there. This was pre-Blade Builders. Almost pre-building your own lightsaber. So, like this is a build your own lightsaber from Disney World, as you can see. Now, one thing I did want to do is compare the sizes of the actual hilts. So, this one doesn't actually have this one has a rounded bottom for Obi-Wan Kenobi's. This one doesn't. So, it's a good inch and a half taller, but that's just because of the pieces I chose. If you were to choose just a bare hilt, actually that wouldn't work. But it's a good inch taller. This blade I'm going to do an overall height length comparison now. So now you've got a build your own lightsaber and a non-build your own lightsaber. So blade lengths themselves, this one's a good 3 inches shorter, 4 inches. And if they're both at the same height, that's an even more dramatic, probably 5 inches difference. Alright. So there's nothing on this that lights up. It's good for wailing on your little brother or sister, I guess. I guess that's a good way to put it. So, like, I think I talked about this in my last video, actually, about, like, the different age groups I'd recommend for these and lightsabers in general. I feel like this is a good lightsaber hilt, or a lightsaber, actually, for pretty much any age, because it's actually a fairly shiny plastic, so it looks metallic, which I like. I don't really care if my hilt is metal or not, but I like if it looks it. Like here. I'm going to tilt you down so you can see the collection. Like, I'll have that sitting there, and you can't see that at all. But I'll have it sitting here, and someone will say, "Oh my god, where'd you get that Anakin hilt?" Because, like, I'm 15, I barely have a job. I'm actually applying for a new job. But they'll say, "Oh my god, where'd you get the money for that Anakin hilt?" And I'll say, "Oh, it's a toy." And they'll be like, "What?" So then I'll take it, I'll tap it on my hand and say, "It's plastic, see?" And one thing I like about the Skywalker saber is generally it's very easy to handle. Like for me, I'm a fairly acrobatic fighter. Like I won't spin like this. I won't do that in an actual duel. But what I will do is I'll stab and I'll slash, and then I'll do this. Because the way I learned to sword fight is I had a buddy. His name was Ace. I'm not going to give out his last name, but his name was Ace. And this is... Actually, I think I had this, but I only had one, so I said, that's not fair if I use that, and... Because this is an old Nerf sword. It's just foam, there's an aluminum core in it, I think. And it's even lighter. See? So, I used to have 2 of these. And this one's really banged up, it's faded, because it's well over 10 years old. I have had this since I was 3. And I know that because I've known him since he was born. Because he's a good year younger than me, but still, we were buddies, and we would go out in my backyard, and I'd throw him a sword, and he'd catch it, and he'd do one of these, and I'd have mine, because everyone has that one thing when you're a kid, like, whether you pick up a broom and it's like, I have a sword, or if you pick up a broom and it's, I have a staff, whatever it may be, you're gonna do it. But we would sword fight, and he would lose all the time. So we would sword fight, and he would lose, and I would disarm him. But I didn't really get into doing this. Because that's really not smart. Because then if you're doing this, then I can just, and you're dead. But if you can manage that, so say you're in a fight, and he locks blades. So, got a sword here. If you can do that, then their sword's going to be over there, and you're going to have your sword still. And it's going to, if you do it right, it's right at the neck. So you pretty much win if you can get that correctly, and I just hit my laptop. But so, that's why I like this saber. It's a very light one, because it's plastic and there's no electronics. So, it's lightweight. I would definitely recommend you get this for a kid, a teenager. This isn't Disney exclusive at all. This I got at like Toys R Us, I think. I don't know if they make this specific designed one anymore, because this was like Revenge of the Sith design, a New Hope design. And so the circuitry here was never painted, it was always just black. But I would recommend getting this saber for anyone. Lightsaber enthusiasts, non-lightsaber enthusiasts, whoever it is, they'll like it. I'm going to end up doing this in just about every video. I am sorry, but it's just because I need to keep reaffirming it for myself, really. And I'd say get this for a younger kid, because this is only like $25 in at Disney World and Orlando Studios. It was probably about $25 last I checked. Now, the hilt you get with this, the actual under hilt, bare naked hilt, I guess, that's going to be slightly different, but the pieces are going to be for the most part the same. Now again, some of these pieces are older. Actually, all these pieces are older. I don't know how many of these they have that are like this anymore, but still, I'd recommend getting this for $25. It's $25. You get a hilt, a bright light, and a blade that you can throw at your family, I guess. Or, I think it was like $30 when I did this. You can get a double-bladed lightsaber. Now, I'm not going to actually attach the blades because then I will break everything. But again, bright light, loud sound, it's a really good deal. Those I'd say get for anyone if you're a bit more into lightsabers, because you can make characters, and will they be completely movie accurate? No, you're never going to get that. That's impossible, but this is pretty close. Good for fighting with your friends in the yard, in the basement, wherever you're going to do it. This is good for that. It's also good for display. Build your own lightsabers. They're good for littler kids who maybe you don't want them breaking everything. Because this, I can swing this pretty hard. Next, I guess, would be the hilt I reviewed last week, which would be Ezra Bridger's. And personally, I'm not the biggest fan of this, but I would appreciate this, because for me, it's a bit small in the hand because he's a child. And so, for me, all the fancy moves that I would do, I'm not quite able to do because of the guard. Not guard. Because this is effectively a D-guard on a saber. Like an actual fencing saber. Or a cutlass. And as we saw in Rebels, that didn't work out so well because it's not made of like Beskar or something, so I'm going to actually pause the recording, and I'm going to go to someplace dark so I can show you the lights. So now I'm in my room, and when I turn off the lights, it's going to get really dark, so you should be able to see the lights on these pretty good. Now, I didn't bring up the double-bladed lightsaber just because it's going to have the same light as this. Now, I did also bring up the Ezra lightsaber. I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to see the lights on these. Alright, so this first is the Ezra lightsaber. It does flashes. So there's your Ezra lightsaber. Alright? That was this very saber. You can tell it's turned on in the light, which I'm kind of surprised about, honestly. Next up is going to be the saber. I'm not doing any sound combinations, obviously, because it doesn't change the light on these newer ones. As you can see, this one is much, much brighter because the light bleeds through it a lot more and it's a much stronger light. Now, you can't really tell because of the video, but this is green. And honestly, the way this hilt looks makes it seem a lot more like Kylo Ren's because of the way the light shines through the Yoda emitter. It doesn't do flash on flash at all. So that's going to be it for the lights. I suppose I can show you a sneak peek of a few weeks later video, because I actually did a poll on Instagram about whether my followers over there wanted to see. Hang on one. So I'm back downstairs, obviously, and I did a poll on Instagram about whether my followers over there wanted to see. Hang on one second, I'm just trying to put everything back on my shelf. I don't anticipate ever actually having to put everything back while I'm recording. But so, just before I get into that, because I know I'm going to forget to do this then, there is a little bit of paint damage on this, a little bit of blackening. But that's just from having it all these years. To this point, this is 9 years old, almost a decade old. And it still works fine. So that's going to be it for that part of the video. But now, I did a poll over on Instagram about whether you would want to see, I'm going to stick with the Star Wars item first, about whether you would want to see a Stormtrooper blaster toy. It's got a little light there. I'm not going to pull the trigger because I'm going to save that for the review. Stick around for that. And it does have a little iron sight. It's got a scope. About whether you'd want to see this first, and this is a fairly movie accurate blaster. Or if you would want to see the Overwatch McCree Nerf Rival Blaster. And this thing is freaking huge, like, compared to my head. I don't have that small of a head. It's not, like, the most massive head, but it's definitely the smallest. And so, look at that bore. That shoots this. And kinda sadly, kinda not sadly, this won, which means I have to shoot this in my house now. And on the box, I don't have that anymore, sadly. But this shoots 80 FPS, 80 feet per second. And I have to shoot this in my house now because I have to do a review on it now. And it was actually really unanimous. Everyone voted for McCree. Now, I think I am actually going to do that review. I'm going to record that as soon as this goes up onto YouTube. Just to kind of get it over and done with. Now, I suppose that means that I'm going to be doing this blaster next. But I do have one thing I want to promise you. When we get to 10 subscribers, I am going to review this. What is that, you may be saying? Well, that I believe is called a force link. And what it connects to is BB-8. It's a little robotic thing. I think it was made by like the same thing as Cosmo or something. So that is going to be what I review when we get to 10 subscribers. Alright? I hope you all have a lovely day, and let me know in the comments where you're watching the video from. Inside or outside of the United States. I love to know. Bye-bye.